Some sources claim that the golden ratio is commonly used in everyday design, for example, in the shapes of postcards, playing cards, posters, widescreen televisions, photographs, light switch plates, and cars. Erno Lendave analyzes Bela Bartok's works as being based on two opposing systems, that of the golden ratio and the acoustic scale, though other music scholars reject that analysis. French composer Eric Satie used the golden ratio in several of his pieces, including Scenarios de la Rose Croix. The golden ratio is also apparent in the organization of the sections in the music of Debussy's Reflets dans l'eau, Reflections in Water, from Images, first series, 1905, in which the sequence of keys is marked out by the intervals 34, 21, 13, and 8, and the main climax sits at the 5 position. The musicologist Roy Howitt has observed that the formal boundaries of Le Mur correspond exactly with the golden section. Trazis finds the intrinsic evidence remarkable, but cautions that no written or reported evidence suggests that Debussy consciously sought such proportions. Pearl drums positions the air vents on its master's premium models based on the golden ratio. The company claims that this arrangement improves bass response and has applied for a patent on this innovation. Though Heinz Boland proposed the non-octave repeating 833 cents scaled bass on combination tones, the tuning features relations based on the golden ratio. As a musician interval, the ratio 1.618 is 833.090 cents. Adolf Zeising, whose main interests were mathematics and philosophy, found the golden ratio expressed in the arrangements of branches along the stems of plants and of vines and leaves. He extended his research to the skeleton of animals and the branching of their veins and nerves, to the proportion of chemical compounds and geometry of crystals, even to the use of proportions in artistic endeavors. In these phenomena, he saw the golden ratio operating as a universal law. In connection with his scheme for golden ratio-based human body proportions, Zeising wrote in 1854 of a universal law in which is contained the ground principle of all formative striving for beauty and completeness in the realism of both nature and art, and which permeates as a paramount spiritual ideal. All structures, forms, and proportions, whether cosmic or individual, organic or inorganic, acoustic or optical, which finds its fullest realization, however, in the human form. In 2010, the journal Science reported that the golden ratio is present at the atomic scale in the magnetic resonance of spines in cobalt neobate crystals. Several researchers have proposed connections between the golden ratio and human genome DNA. However, some have argued that many of the apparent manifestations of the golden ratio in nature, especially in regards to animal dimensions, are in fact fictitious. Studies by psychologists, starting with Fichtner, have been devised to test the idea that the golden ratio plays a role in human perception of beauty, while Fichtner found a preference for rectangular ratios centered in the golden ratio. Later attempts to carefully test such hypotheses have been, at best, inconclusive. In the mid-19th century, Robber studied various. In the mid-19th century, Robber studied various Egyptian pyramids, including Khafre, Menkaure, and some of the Giza, Saqqara, and Abu Sar groups, and was interpreted as saying that half the base of the side of the pyramid is the middle mean of the side, forming what other authors identified as the Kepler triangle. Many other mathematical theories of the shape of the pyramid have also been explored. One Egyptian pyramid is remarkably close to the Golden Pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, also known as the Pyramid of Cheops or Khufu. Its slope is 51 degrees, 52 inches, is extremely close to the Golden Pyramid inclination of 51 degrees 50 inches, and the TT symbol based pyramid inclination of 51 degrees 51 inches. Other pyramids at Giza, Khafre 52 degrees 20 inches, and Mycerinus 50 degrees 47 inches are also quite close. Whether the relationship to the golden ratio in these pyramids is by design or by accident remains open to speculation. Several other Egyptian pyramids are very close to the rational 3-4-5 shape. Adding fuel to controversy over the architectural authorship of the Great Pyramid, Eric Temple Bell, mathematician and historian, claimed in 1950 that Egyptian mathematics would not have supported the ability to calculate the slant height of the pyramids or the ratio of the height, except in the case of the 3-4-5 pyramid, since the 3-4-5 triangle was the only right triangle known to the Egyptians, and they did not know the Pythagorean theorem, nor any way to reason about irrationals such as the TT or its two scientific symbols. I have that on screen capture, so here's the two symbols, if you can see that. Okay. Michael Rice asserts that principal authorities on the history of Egyptian architecture have argued that the Egyptians were well acquainted with the golden ratio, that it is part of mathematics of the pyramids. Citing Guidon in 1957, historians of science have always debated whether the Egyptians had any such knowledge or not. contending rather that its appearance in an Egyptian building is the result of chance. In 1859, the pyramidologist Tom Taylor claimed that in the Great Pyramid of Giza, the golden ratio is represented by the ratio of the length of the face, the slope height, inclined at an angle of that symbol right there to the ground, to half the length of the side of the square base, equivalent to the second of the angle, and that symbol again. The above two lengths were about 186.4 and 115.2 meters respectively. The ratio of these lengths is the golden ratio, accurate to more digits than either of the original measurements. Similarly, Howard Weiss, according to Mattila Gaika, reported the Great Pyramid height 148.2 m and half base 116.4 m, yielding 1.6189 for the ratio of slant height to half base, again more accurate than the data variabilities. Examples of disputing observations of the golden ratio include the following. Historian John Mann states that the page of the Gutenberg Bible were based on the golden section shape. However, according to Mann's own measurements, the ratio of height to width was 1.45. Some special proportions in the bodies of many animals, including humans, and part of the shell of mollusks and cephalopods are often claimed to be in the golden ratio. There is a large variation in the real measurements of these elements in specific individuals, however, and the proportion in question is often significantly different from the golden ratio. The ratio of successive phalangeal bones of the digits and the metacarpi bone has been said to approximate the golden ratio. The Nautilus shell, the construction of which proceeds in a logarithmic spiral, is often cited, usually with the idea that any logarithmic spiral is related to the golden ratio, but sometimes with the claim that each new chamber is proportioned by the golden ratio relative to the previous one. However, measurements of Nautilus shells do not support this claim. The proportions of different plant components, number of leaves to branches, diameters of geometric figures inside flowers, are often claimed to show golden ratio proportions of several species. In practice, there are significant variations between individuals, seasonal variations, and age variations in these species. While the golden ratio may be found in some proportions in some individuals at particular times in their life cycle,